Welcome to today's topic, career opportunities in WordPress and at rtCamp. My name is Mohammed Mohsin, and I work at rtCamp as a senior engineer. You can follow me on Twitter at MohsinLK if you have any questions after the session, or if you want to follow in general for updates about WordPress. I work at rtCamp. And apart from working at rtCamp, I have also written, for publications like Smashing Magazine. It's a web publication. And I have also been featured on these sites like CSS Tricks and so on. So apart from working with code and WordPress and React, I also like to travel and explore the natural beauty and as well as enjoy food. So when it comes to career and work in general, there is a common advice that people give, which is follow your passion. So I argue that it's the follow your passion argument is very, very vague, and it needs a more how can I say more deep. It's much deeper than just simply following your passion. So let's talk a little bit about that to get started. I'll talk a little bit about career in general and about opportunities and also about WordPress and specifically about rtCamp. I'll cover all of this, but first of all, a lot of general things, and then we'll get into the specifics. Okay. So when it comes to a career, I think this chart or this Venn diagram is very useful, where you find what you love and what you're also good at, you enjoy doing. And at the same time, the world needs it, and you have to be paid for it. For example, you might sometimes love something, you enjoy doing it, but but no one is willing to pay for it. So you cannot call that a career, for example. You need to get the balance right, so that you love doing it, the world needs it, and they pay for it, and you're also good at doing it. I would say a lot of people here, the audience, all of you, could find WordPress in the middle of all this, hopefully. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, like a disclaimer is that, of course, whatever advice that I give here is based on what has happened to me in my life. It may work for you. I hope it works for you, but of course there are chances it may not necessarily work. Like Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards, which is after you have done, of course, you can say how it worked, but at the moment it may look a little bit difficult, or it may be challenging. But of course, I trust that all of you will hopefully get good understanding of WordPress and also career in WordPress. Okay, so of course, a lot of this, a lot of what I had in my life came about by being at the right place at the right time, which is getting into things at the right time, like maybe at the right time, not too early, not too late, for example. So let's talk a little bit about the general, in general, how to create opportunities for yourself. I would recommend, if you can get started by writing on your personal website, for example, create a personal site, ideally with WordPress. If you want to get into WordPress and explore WordPress, WordPress is like a perfect platform to create your personal site, because while it is very easy to get started, it's also very easy to customize and build your skills along with your how you master your understanding about WordPress. And of course, you should also attend meetups and conferences, which you are doing now. It's really helpful. So spend time on Twitter, not too much time, but of course, this can really help you get an understanding of where the industry is heading, and who is doing what in the industry. And also, very important is to be able to contribute to open source in whatever way possible, not just by code, but whatever way you can contribute to open source. And finally, it's not always easy, but you can try and attempt to speak and also write on other platforms, conferences like WordCamps and meetups, for example. First of all, you attend as an attendee, then you can try and speak, for example. These are general to WordPress and to other areas as well. And of course, some more skills. Some people call it soft skills, but of course we know it's very hard to master, and also very useful skills like empathy, for example, where So Kyle Simpson, he wrote, he's like a JavaScript guru. Like, he said, why we code so that the things we write are readable to human beings, because anyone can write code that computer understands, but the aim here is to write code that humans understand. That is, I see, very, very important, so that, your colleagues, are able to understand what you write. Like, even one year from now, you should be able to understand what you write. So being able to write readable code is a big part of being a good software engineer. So again, apart from empathy, you need observation. Like, by observation, what I really mean is, like, what are people doing? What is where the industry is heading, and things like that. What technology is dying? What is not like dying? What is coming up? And what trends do you actually like? By this, I don't mean to go after every buzzword, but like, that's why you said you should actually like what the trending technology is. For example, I really liked React when I got started, and I also loved WordPress, so I was able to combine the two, while it was picking up. Again, another good skill to have is craftsmanship, which really is like to take pride in what you do, and also strive to be, 1% better every day, like to be better every day, and not necessarily to aim for perfection. Don't aim for perfection, but try to be better than what you were yesterday. And again, not just writing good code, but also good documentation for your code, so that anyone who reads your code can understand. I would stress these parts more, because like, once you start working with a company, the team, being able to write good documentation, being able to communicate better, all that is going to be somewhat crucial for your career. And yeah, of course, it's a lifelong journey of learning. Once you get into the tech or software field, the learning doesn't stop there. University is just like kindergarten, where you have to keep on learning to get updated, and of course be basically attend the university of life again. Of course, again, you have to be open. I feel like you have to be open to challenges, for example, and not to be really fixated on one opportunity. For example, opportunities do not come always. So, like, for example, if you attend some interview, for example, and you fail, being able to have that mindset to take it as a challenge to learn from your mistake, and then pick up from where you fell, and pick yourself up from. Yeah, so this point is something I really I want to express a lot more. It has been really useful for me. Being the best at one thing, for example, let's say you aim to be the best JavaScript developer or the best WordPress developer in the world, that is extremely hard. But at the same time, you can be pretty great at WordPress and pretty great at React, and then you combine the two, then you will be among the few in the world who can do that. So what I'm trying to say is, like, of course, you can aim to be the best WordPress expert in the world, but the chances of being the best person in that field is hard. But you can also be pretty great at WordPress and also pretty great at, like, say, React, for example, or JavaScript. Then you combine the two technologies to create something unique, which makes you as a person unique, to the world and to the industry. So this is something it has really helped me, and I would really encourage everyone listening to pay attention to this. Really, like, if there is one takeaway, you can listen to this and try to follow it. Hopefully it helps. Again, you can decide for yourself if you want to be a specialist or a generalist. What I mean by that is, do you want to go specifically into one area, like one narrow field, for example, I don't know, style components, for example. You want to get very specific, or do you want to learn a lot of things, like maybe all the things, for example, to Vue, React, JavaScript, and also things like Flutter and React Native, and all things. But what I would say is, like, in general, you should know most of the things at a basic level, and you should be specialized in one specific area that you really enjoy. That's what I would say about that. Yeah. So, like, when it comes to an opportunity, like, whether you say yes or no is something you have to decide for yourself. For example, like, when you're just getting started, you should try to say yes to almost everything. But once you get specialized and have some experience, you should say no to most of the things. That's how you can get better at what you're really good at. Some of the some of the very important lessons you can build as an engineer or any as anyone working in tech, for example. We can of course get better at communication in general. The whole tech industry, communication is oxygen. You might have heard the term, which means that it's very, very important to have a really great communication, especially written communication, because like the world is heading towards the remote work. Remote work, what can I say, remote work field. And then of course, if you are really great at written communication, you can really thrive at the remote work remote work. Yeah. Okay. And then yeah, of course, you should not only try to understand what's being said, but of course you have to also aim to be understood. Like when I speak to you, it's also partly my duty to make sure that you have understood what I speak. I really hope I'm doing that right. Yeah, so again, what I told as before, like we are humans first, like, and then we are programmers. So we should not lose our humanity, for example, being kind or looking after another colleague, for example, things like that. And another important thing when you get into like a career, like a coding career, is to be able to take and give feedback. Like, for example, let's say you write a pull request and someone gives you feedback. Your first reaction would be like to defend yourself, like, why does that person think I'm wrong? Why is it wrong? Like, and to be maybe like give a gut reaction saying I did it correctly, for example. But a better approach is to like say thank you for that person, and then take the feedback well. And of course, if they are willfully trying to harm you, you can have a different strategy. But most people are not trying to do that. So it's better to take it in a positive light and assume the best of others, and to take that feedback well, and at the same time also give a good feedback to someone else. And of course, like to be kind to someone, and not just to fight for who's right and who's wrong, and make it about myself, for example. Not to let ego get the better of us, for example, especially when you work with a team. Yeah, a few more lessons. Of course, it's not just about work. You have to also look at your health and your wealth and your happiness. Like I said earlier, be flexible. Don't just have a fixed mindset like I will work at Google, and if I don't work at Google, I will not work anywhere else. I do not recommend such an approach. Whatever comes your way, be flexible with your career, because we do not know if Google is going where Google is going to in the next 20 years. And if you're going to be fixed like that, it's not a good mindset. Again, to be, when in doubt, do what is feels kinder to you. And also, when you get ahead, always remember to help others. It's the same way someone else helped you when you got started. And again, stay humble, because not everyone knows everything. Okay, like I don't know everything, and you may not know everything, and so of course be a lifelong student and stay humble. Now getting back to like the core of what we're going to talk, like why do we work? Of course, most of us, I think, like work for money, because we need money to buy food and clothes, and buy the laptop I'm talking to, and the watch, for example. And some may like a fancy car. They want to work to earn money to buy that car, and to take I don't know, travel around the world to have a good enjoy your life, travel around. Or maybe you need like you need recognition, for example. You work to gain some kind of recognition, so to be like a well recognized or a star in the industry. You like the freedom, which is also very important. Like money gives you freedom, right? Like if you have a lot of money, it gives you the freedom to I don't know, live in live in your favorite city in the world, and things like that. And of course, you do it because you love to work. That is also very, very a key point. You love to work, and you love to be provide to your family, for example. Again, family here. And then of course, like you like to travel and explore, and be anywhere in the world. So why WordPress? I'll be coming back to everything I spoke here. So this is just a precursor to what we're going to talk about. So why do we why do you want to consider WordPress? How can I say? One reason you can think is like, like Danish said in the beginning, a lot of people are using WordPress. Like for example, BBC to TechCrunch to Star Wars to Facebook, Google, Al Jazeera, and all these huge companies are using Google. Like Variety. If you go to a website today, you have likely gone to a WordPress website, even Microsoft and things like that. But you should not use WordPress just because everyone else is using WordPress. But you may have your own reason to use WordPress. But going back to the point we talked about earlier, so money is part of WordPress. So why should you consider WordPress as your career is the question really. WordPress economy has been growing for the past 15 years. It has seen some tremendous growth, and the economy this year is projected to be $636 billion. That's a lot of money. And you as a developer, as an individual, I would recommend you take a small piece of the pie, and you can do yourself some good by making use of the huge economy that WordPress has. So it can be for personal, community, organizational. There are loads and loads of companies that are adopting WordPress, agencies building WordPress websites, and product companies building WordPress, for example, on top of WordPress, for example, learning management systems, e-commerce systems, and so much more. So yeah, as a developer, we can perhaps get a small share of the huge economy that WordPress is. Then which gives us these two options. For example, to have money and also potentially to buy your dream car by getting to this economy. And again, WordPress has been one of the forerunners of remote work. WordPress has the WordPress economy, and the company that the person who founded WordPress, Matt Mullen, the co-founded WordPress. They have been proponents of promoting WordPress since 2004, a very long time. Even the internet was new to most of us. So what remote work allows you is a lot of all these things. It can allow you more time with your family, which we talked about. It can allow you more travel time to be anywhere in the world, as long as you get the job done. So most of you probably are in India right now, but if you get a WordPress remote job, you can also be on the other side of India. Maybe in San Francisco, and still get the same amount of work while traveling. Or you can also work from a plane, work from an island, work from the mountain, as long as you have a good internet connection and a computer. Okay, so there's an article about how WordPress thrives with 100% remote workforce on Harvard Business Review. So again, WordPress gives you the freedom. We talked about freedom. WordPress is built on the foundation of open source and the values of open source. For example, to be able to use WordPress for any purpose. If you take WordPress as a software, if someone is trying to sell it, it's worth a lot of money. If you try to buy it, it doesn't have a price. It's invaluable. It's very, very the amount of work that has been put into WordPress is a lot. So the first freedom is to be able to run the program for any purpose, and also to make the second one is to make and change, really modify WordPress, and then third is to redistribute WordPress, the core WordPress, and the last is to modify and redistribute WordPress to a different version of WordPress. So WordPress gives you really any amount of flexibility in terms of their the license is very open, and it's very pro advantages for those looking for an open source software. WordPress is one of the key open source softwares in the world, and it's also considered by some as the operating system of the web. WordPress. Okay. Again, we were talking a little bit about about love and also recognition. You get these at rtCamp. So you get to work with people you love, and also people who help you realize your potential. One other thing I wanted to point out is these are the current openings for experienced folks. But what I wanted to point out is you don't have to just be a coder or a programmer to get into WordPress economy. You can also be a content writer, person who writes. You can also be a project manager. You can be a QA testing engineer. You can be a business person, an account manager or a client strategist. or you can also be a project coordinator. What I'm trying to say is that it's not, the WordPress economy is not just for like coding folks, it's also for people who do not necessarily want to code, but want to get into WordPress, like using any other roles like, content writing or project coordination. That's one thing I wanted to point out to you. Yeah, again, via rtCamp, yeah, you can consider rtCamp for all these benefits. Like I mentioned, most of it, like be able to work remotely and to work with open source software, and to continue to learn at your own pace, and also the other benefits that you see here, like for example, working a no weekend policy, only during the weekdays, for example, and to be able to talk, to have a say at everything that happens at the organization, and so much more. And of course, like I said earlier, we have worked with few other top companies. For example, Google, Facebook, Automatic. Automatic, by the way, is the company behind WordPress.com, and also PMC, Al Jazeera, and so on. And a lot of the companies that I really love, they are not here, but yeah, for example, we work with many other companies as well. You might come across in the future. Yeah, so when it comes to WordPress, there are some myths. Even today, I had a conversation about someone about this. So some people say, I can only work with WordPress if I can code. And I just described that you do not necessarily have to be a programmer. You can be a project manager, or you can be a content writer or a trainer, or any of that, if you can, and still get to work with WordPress without writing code. Yeah, it will start my growth as an engineer. This is something big, like I think which Danish touched upon a little earlier, which is WordPress. Some people think is only like a drag and drop tool, but like it's much more than that once you get into code. So the thing about WordPress is it's easy to get started, but it's extremely hard to like master, because there are so many things, and it's very versatile. You can use it for so many different industries and for various purposes. So you can get started very easily, and then you can customize it and write custom code. So if you feel like it will stunt your growth as an engineer, what suggestion you can do is keep learning and also keep up to date with WordPress. And also, like I said, use another technology alongside. For example, WordPress heavily uses React. So you will also be a React engineer on top of being a WordPress engineer. So that like it's like you also learn React while you're learning WordPress. So I would suggest you keep up to date, and with any industry it's the same. If you get stuck to one old legacy piece, you're going to be outdated. But of course, you can if you continue learning and evolving as an engineer, you can it will not stunt your growth. And some say WordPress. I prefer work at a startup, not an agency. Like some Silicon Valley agencies, startups, for example, do not necessarily use WordPress. But so this question you can answer for yourself. For example, I personally prefer to work at an agency, than a startup. And perhaps you can figure it out for yourself. And most of the companies that use WordPress are agencies, but also there are product companies and also startups that use WordPress. Not all, but some of them do use WordPress. So you can figure out like where do you really want to work. And I'm not fully convinced with working at a startup. I prefer to work at an agency. After having worked at a startup, I prefer an agency. So yeah, it's up to you to decide that. But yeah, okay. So we are coming to the end of the talk. One thing I can tell is like this quote: if you take care of the small things, the big things take care of themselves. What it really means is when you get into anything in life, really you may not be able to decide, for example, that you can work at the largest WordPress company, but you can still decide to for example, do one commit per day to your GitHub repo, for example, or to aim to write one maybe blog post per week, for example. So things like that, where you do have agency over, where you can take care of things like that. Or once you have a job, for example, something very small that you can take care is to be able to log in your time entries every day, like for example, what you did for the day. But something you may not necessarily be able to control is to become like a tech lead, for example. So when you take care of the small things like that can be boring sometimes, the big things will take care of themselves. That's one thing I want to say. And yeah, so thank you very much for letting me speak. And of course, again, rtCamp is always hiring. Please, visit the rtCamp hiring page, the careers page, and join us and see you as I hope to see you all as colleagues at rtCamp. Thank you.